Historically, business accounting has always felt a bit like, I don't know, learning to read ancient hieroglyphics.
Yeah, that's a pretty good way to put it.
Right, because you have these incredibly rigid columns, the sacred scrolls of debits and credits, and if you put like one single number in the wrong little box,
The whole thing breaks.
exactly, the entire temple just collapses. So anyway, welcome to today's deep dive. We've got a really fascinating one for you today. Looking through the stack of sources you shared with us, specifically these massive technical blueprints and feature specs for the 2026 release of the APS accounting and inventory system, it's just clear you're investigating a massive paradigm shift in business tech.
Oh, absolutely. It's a fundamental rewrite of how we interact with data.
Yeah, and our mission for this deep dive is to figure out exactly how this platform has evolved because
Yeah.
it went from a static, rigid ledger into what is essentially a fully functional, autonomous virtual CFO.
Right, because traditionally, the human has always had to adapt their thinking to the machine's architecture, right?
Yes, you conform to the ledger.
Exactly. The ledger does not conform to you. And whether you are running a startup or managing some massive wholesale operation, or even if you're just, fascinated by the future of work, the fundamental bottleneck in commerce has always been translation.
Translation, like from human action to computer data.
Yeah, exactly. We spend just an inordinate amount of time translating physical human business activities like handing someone cash or literally just moving a box off a shelf into accurate accounting data. And the architecture of the 2026 APS system seemed entirely engineered to shatter that translation bottleneck.
Okay, let's unpack this because looking through your notes, this isn't just about, giving people faster spreadsheets. It's about an AI that actually speaks your language.
It speaks human. Right.
So let's look at the entry point of all business data. I want to understand how information is actually captured here because getting data into a legacy system usually requires specialized, sometimes really expensive knowledge.
Well, that requirement is completely bypassed here. They do it through their natural language processing, or NLP integration. The blueprints actually give a brilliantly simple example of this mechanism in action.
Oh, I think I read that part, the rent example.
Yeah. So imagine a user simply types or even says out loud to the system, I paid $500 for rent.
Which is just how a normal person talks.
Exactly. Now, in a traditional setup, you have to know which specific expense account to debit, which cash or bank account to credit, and like how to format the date and description perfectly.
You essentially have to be an accountant.
Right. But the APS AI parses the semantics of that colloquial sentence. It queries your historical ledger context to know, okay, which rent account do you typically use? Which bank account is currently active?
Oh, wow. It checks the history.
Yeah, it does all that instantly and then automatically generates a complex, legally compliant, double-entry accounting record.
That is wild.
It maps everyday phrasing to those rigid accounting frameworks behind the scenes. So it builds the journal entry, balances it, and displays it on your screen, just waiting for a single click for approval.
It's like having a bilingual translator in your pocket, where the two languages are stressed business owner and certified public accountant.
That is exactly what it is. What's fascinating here is how it removes the friction.
But I have to ask, like, how does it handle new information? Because if I'm an entrepreneur and I land a brand new client, I can't just tell the system to bill someone who doesn't exist in the database yet, right? I was reading about this smart chart of accounts builder in the specs, and I'm really trying to wrap my head around the mechanics of it.
Okay, yeah, this is where the system's structural logic really shines. Let's say you tell the system, add customer Yasser.
Okay.
In a legacy environment, if you hadn't, manually navigated through 3 separate menus to set up a master customer's parental node first.
Oh, it would just give you an error.
Right, the system would simply freeze and throw an account not found error code at you.
Mm-hmm.
It demands that the underlying architecture exists before you populate it.
Right, you can't put a file in a folder that doesn't exist.
Exactly. But the APS Virtual CFO dynamically checks the backend database in real time.
Yeah.
If it searches the database for existing parental nodes and finds that a main customer's account doesn't actually exist yet, it establishes that root foundation automatically.
Wait, really? It just builds the master account.
Yeah. It writes the code for the main account and then appends Yasser underneath it as a sub-account. One casual command triggers an entire cascading structural foundation.
So it's actively building the house while you are literally walking through the front door.
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean, I can see how that drastically reduces the barrier to entry for precise financial management. You don't need a degree in accounting to keep perfect books anymore. You just need to know how to, well, describe what you did today. But capturing the data effortlessly is really only useful if you can actually understand what the data is telling you later.
Hmm.
Like a pristine ledger doesn't mean much if you can't extract actionable insights from it.
Sure.
Which brings me to the interactive AI report builder in the source material. And honestly, this feels like it's targeting a massive corporate pain point. Because anyone who has ever tried to generate a custom report knows it usually involves like bribing the IT department.
Or hiring an expensive external programmer to write SQL queries.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Because legacy systems, they provide static, hard-coded reports.
Hmm.
If you want to see a specific cross-section of your data that the original developers didn't anticipate,
You're out of luck.
right, you need someone who understands database architecture to manually pull those distinct fields.
Hmm.
But APS 2026 eliminates the programmer entirely by using that same natural language parsing we just talked about, but applying it to data extraction.
Okay, so how does that work in practice?
You simply ask the system, make a sales invoices report between two dates. The AI translates that human request into a database query, but, and this is the kicker, it doesn't just run a one-time disposable search.
What does it do?
It constructs a flexible interactive UI template. So every time you open that specific report moving forward, a lightweight interface appears, just asking you to input your new start and end parameters.
Oh, that's brilliant. It turns a conversational request into a permanent reusable software tool right on your dashboard.
Exactly.
It's basically democratizing data analysis. You are coding bespoke software tools with just your voice.
Yeah.
And if we take that data extraction a step further, the sources heavily highlight the 90-day AI cash flow forecast.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
The system reads the last 12 months of your financial history, analyzes the seasonal patterns, your accounts receivable, your typical expense cycles, and it automates a 30, 60, and 90-day prediction of your net liquidity.
It basically projects your financial survival timeline.
I hear that and I immediately get skeptical.
Oh, why is that?
Because predictive modeling sounds like absolute magic on paper. But can we really trust a machine to predict a 90-day survival forecast? I mean, if a human CFO gets optimistic and miscalculates, you fire them. But if this algorithm hallucinates a positive cash flow trend, say it misunderstood a seasonal spike in sales, and you make hiring decisions based on that, a wrong prediction can literally bankrupt a company.
That is a very fair point.
Right. How does the system protect against its own blind spots?
Well, that skepticism is entirely warranted. Predictive modeling is highly vulnerable to the garbage in, garbage out principle. If the underlying data is flawed, the forecast is catastrophic.
Exactly.
But the architecture of APS addresses this at the root. We have to look back at the automated entry mechanisms we were just discussing. In traditional systems, humans make typos. They categorize expenses inconsistently. They, leave stacks of receipts in their truck and forget to log them until the end of the quarter.
Guilty as charged.
Right. And that creates dirty data, a fragmented, delayed picture of reality.
Yeah.
But because APS automates data entry through NLP and real-time receipt scanning, it essentially enforces data hygiene.
Oh, I see.
The AI isn't predicting based on delayed human data entry. It's predicting based on a pristine real-time data set. The algorithmic models are running on actual reality, which makes them far more reliable than a stressed human trying to guess their upcoming margins on a whiteboard.
Okay, fair enough. If you fix the garbage in side of the equation, the garbage out risk drops significantly. And that underlying accuracy also seems to drive their international features, right?
Yes, definitely.
There is an AI column translation tool detailed in the specs. If you are dealing with foreign partners, the AI translates the columns and headers of your complex financial reports into 26 different languages instantly. I was wondering how it does this without, corrupting the underlying database because regional accounting standards vary wildly.
It handles this by totally decoupling the user interface layer from the core database layer. So the translation isn't rewriting your ledger, it's just overlaying a localized linguistic map onto the data visualization.
Oh, so the math stays the same.
Exactly. This creates a completely frictionless environment for international business. Your certified accountant in Egypt can look at the exact same live real-time financial report as your venture capital investor in Tokyo. Each person is interacting with the data in their native language, but the underlying numbers remain anchored to your central corporate ledger.
That's incredibly smooth. So, high level CFO forecasting, custom reporting, international translation, all handled beautifully in the cloud. But getting the data perfectly aligned in a dashboard doesn't actually solve the physical chaos that happens on the ground.
No, it doesn't.
A business might look great on a balance sheet, but margins bleed out on the warehouse floor.
Let's look at how this system handles physical reality, specifically their inventory logic. Yeah, the manufacturing and advanced storage modules detailed in your sources are remarkably robust. They basically map the entire life cycle, from raw material acquisition to half-finished goods assembly, all the way to the final retail product. And it comes complete with batch tracking for expiration dates.
But the operational standout for me is how they engineered their multi-level pricing logic to interact with their smart barcode management. The sources say every item can hold up to 4 distinct pricing tiers, like retail, wholesale, distributor, and VIP.
Right.
And the interaction with the barcodes is what really jumped out at me, specifically what the sources call the carton versus piece dilemma. This seems incredibly niche at first glance, but reading deeper, it's apparently one of the most common and costly errors in any wholesale or retail environment.
Can you paint the picture for the listener? Like, why is this specific transaction such a financial hazard?
Okay, yeah. We have to visualize the point of sale. Imagine a cashier at a busy hardware store on a Saturday afternoon. A contractor brings up a large, sealed carton containing, say, 50 individual high-end light bulbs. Okay, I'm picturing it.
The cashier takes their scanner and hits the barcode printed on the outside of the bulk box. Now, in a traditional static inventory system, a barcode is usually a dumb identifier tied to a single flat item profile. If the cashier isn't paying close attention to the screen prompts, they might accidentally ring up the transaction at the price of a single individual light bulb.
Oh, no, so they just sold a box of 50 for the price of one.
Exactly. The store just effectively gave away 49 high-end bulbs for free. And conversely, even if they get the price right, legacy systems often struggle with unit conversion on the back end. The system might sell the carton, but fail to accurately deduct the 50 individual pieces from the total inventory pool.
Which creates that phantom stock issue.
Right. Your computer says you have 500 bulbs, but your shelf is completely empty.
Here's where it gets really interesting because the APS system tackles this by allowing you to assign an unlimited number of unique barcodes to a single item profile. But each barcode is intrinsically linked to a specific unit of measurement. It's like a digital matryoshka doll, a Russian nesting doll.
That is the perfect way to describe the back-end mechanics. The system is entirely context-aware. Scanning the outer layer tells the system exactly what to do with the contents inside.
So
when that cashier scans the barcode printed on the bulk carton, the APS software instantly executes 2 distinct logical operations. First, on the pricing side, it recognizes the carton identifier and automatically overrides the standard retail price, applying the specific wholesale or bulk price tier you've designated for that volume.
Okay, and the second operation?
Second, and this is the vital operational magic, on the database side, it digitally opens that matryoshka doll. It breaks that single carton down into its component parts and deducts exactly 50 individual pieces from your master inventory pool.
But wait, if a regular consumer walks in, opens the box on the shelf, brings up just one single light bulb, and the cashier scans that specific piece.
The scanner reads the unique barcode for the single unit. The system keeps the digital nesting doll closed. It automatically applies the higher retail price tier and deducts exactly 1 unit from the inventory ledger. This mechanism entirely neutralizes the human error associated with manual price overrides and mental unit conversions at the checkout counter. It actively prevents inventory shrinkage by ensuring that what happens at the cash register perfectly mirrors the physical reality of the warehouse shelves.
It bridges that massive chaotic gap between front-of-house sales staff and back-of-house logistics. You are protecting the profit margins without forcing the cashier to do math in their head, which speeds up the checkout line.
Exactly. It's a win-win.
So the physical inventory is tracked, and the high-level accounting is automated. But software is really only as good as the hardware it runs on, and we need to talk about the humans actually moving this inventory around. I mean, enterprise software usually lives on a desktop computer in some quiet, air-conditioned office. How does APS manage operations out in the field?
Right, because accessibility is the ultimate test of any organizational system. If your workforce cannot access the software at the exact moment and location where the actual physical work is occurring, the data will always be delayed and therefore degraded.
Yeah, nobody wants to walk back to the office to log a transaction.
Exactly. So to solve this, the developers didn't build a heavy desktop application. APS 2026 is engineered as a PWA, a progressive web app.
Meaning you don't even have to navigate an app store to download it. You simply access a URL on your mobile browser, pin it to your home screen, and it operates natively on touchscreens, tablets, and smartphones, complete with secure push notifications. You are literally putting the virtual CFO in the pocket of the people doing the heavy lifting.
And it leverages the native hardware of those mobile devices beautifully to streamline data capture. We talked earlier about typing or speaking natural language to log expenses, right?
Yeah.
Well, the mobile PWA features a snap and post receipt scanner. An employee out in the field can simply use their smartphone camera to photograph a physical receipt. The AI utilizes optical character recognition, seamlessly processing both Arabic and English text simultaneously, by the way, to extract the supplier name, the transaction dates, the specific line items, and the total tax amounts.
And it drafts the journal entry.
Automatically drafts it for approval.
That's incredible, which naturally leads us to how the system manages the workers themselves out in those unpredictable field environments. Because looking at the HR modules in the sources, there is a dedicated feature for a daily wage labor payroll alongside worksite attendance. And to me, this proves the developers actually understand how blue-collar industries operate.
Oh, without a doubt.
Because if you look at a major construction site, you certainly have fixed salaried employees, the engineers, the project managers, but you also have dozens, sometimes hundreds, of day laborers whose attendance fluctuates wildly from day to day. Trying to jam a transient day laborer into a traditional corporate HR payroll system is just a logistical nightmare.
It fundamentally corrupts the fixed payroll data. Corporate payroll ledgers are intricately tied to long-term tax brackets, annual health insurance premiums, and fixed overhead calculations.
Yeah.
A day laborer represents an immediate localized daily project expense.
Right.
So mixing those two data streams ruins your quarterly tax filings and completely obscures your actual project profit margins.
Precisely. And you can't expect 50 temporary laborers covered in dust to download corporate HR apps to clock in. So with APS, the site supervisor just pulls out their tablet on the construction site and logs the attendance for the day laborers directly into the PWA. The workers themselves don't even need smartphones.
And the back end handles the rest.
Exactly. The system then calculates their daily wages and automatically generates isolated journal entries. It ties those very specific variable labor costs directly to that specific project's cost center. It creates a perfect financial firewall. You map your project costs with microscopic accuracy without ever polluting the fixed employee payroll ledger.
It isolates the variables while maintaining total visibility. And, they've applied that same granular control to international legal compliance.
Oh, the legal dues dashboard.
Yes. The sources detail this dashboard equipped with visual configuration sliders. So if your enterprise operates across borders managing teams in Egypt, Saudi Arabia, the US, or the UK simultaneously, you don't need to rebuild the HR software for each region. You literally just adjust a slider to configure the specific tax withholdings and state insurance percentages required by local labor laws.
That saves so much time.
The system even provides secure cloud archiving directly within the HR module for sensitive documents like employee passports and localized contracts.
It's completely comprehensive, and they've also integrated an entire appointment booking ecosystem into the platform, haven't they?
They have, yeah.
We've spent a lot of time talking about hardware stores and construction sites, but if you aren't selling physical cartons of light bulbs, if you are running a dental clinic, a hair salon, or a vehicle maintenance center, the system manages your time-based services and employee schedules just as powerfully as it manages physical warehouse inventory.
Exactly. And if we connect all of these distinct features to the bigger picture of business technology, the philosophy of APS becomes very clear. True business scalability only happens when every single employee, regardless of their technical skill level or their understanding of accounting principles, can feed accurate data into the organizational system seamlessly.
Because it's intuitive.
Right. By utilizing natural language parsing, mobile touchscreen accessibility, and context-aware smart barcodes, APS removes the friction of data entry. It allows the messy, physical reality of the business to flow into the pristine financial ledger without any translation errors.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener, who brought these blueprints to our attention? We started out talking about how the rigidity of traditional accounting usually forces the human to adapt to the machine. But from the NLP that understands what you mean when you casually say, I paid rent, to the Matryoshka doll logic of smart barcodes that know the difference between a sealed box and a single item, to the AI that cleans your data to predict your cash flow for the next 90 days. These tools represent a massive transfer of power.
They really do.
Whether you're a stressed business owner trying to balance the books at midnight or just a keen observer of where enterprise technology is headed, the message is clear. We are moving rapidly into an era where you can finally stop worrying about the microscopic mechanics of data entry and focus entirely on overarching strategy, sustainable growth, and the actual work you set out to do.
It demands a total shift in perspective regarding enterprise software.
Yeah.
APS 2026 isn't just a passive tool you use or a static ledger you write data into. It is engineered to function as a dynamic operational partner.
A virtual CFO.
Exactly. It reacts to your conversational language. It acts as a firewall against corrupted payroll data. It anticipates your cash flow bottlenecks long before you feel them. And it handles the complex nesting doll logic of inventory management so your frontline team doesn't have to. It is an active participant in the daily survival of the business.
Which leaves us with a pretty fascinating thought to ponder as we wrap up today. If a system can anticipate our cash flow based on pristine automated data, instantly translate our complex financial reports for international investors, and automatically balance our corporate ledgers from a spoken everyday sentence, does the future of running a business look less like traditional management and more like simply having a really, really good conversation with your software?
That is the question, isn't it?
Something to think about. Until next time, keep questioning those ancient hieroglyphics and keep digging into your own deep dives. Catch you later.